No one's broken the music down for Ramayana, the latest teaser, frame by frame. So you come to us, your favorite internet Latino musicians.
Let's go!
Frame by frame, son. We have just heard, uninterrupted for our members, the actual teaser sound. We have a ton of thoughts. So let's go through the journey together.
Let's do it.
Put your fucking headphones on. I mean, that first, it seems like an analyzation, actually. You don't know if that's a word, but those first 10 seconds, I mean, visually we can discuss it, but those first 10 seconds are so fucking important in the modern world for music. It's very Hans Zimmer, this first 10 seconds, where everything's very dark, it's very dire. It reminds me a lot of Lord of the Rings.
It does, actually.
It reminds me a lot of like a weird version of Inception if it was fantasy-esque. That repetition of... In musical terms, it's Italian because everything's fucking Italian apparently. It's called an ostinato, which basically it basically stands for a repeated phrase. This is very dark, not exotic, dark and suspicious. The first ram ram or fucking Hans Zimmer is in the house. You know?
Yes. I also think it's interesting because obviously we're setting the world and we're trying to let people know that this is coming in hot. That this is coming in with a ton of weight. Reason why we're introducing sounds like that.
Well, also, this is something that I'm so intrigued about, how Hans Zimmer will be able to implement something that I think no music composer from the West does well in their movies. But a lot of music composers in India do well in their movies, which is the implementation and combination of visual stimulation and auditory stimulation, turning it into a true multidimensional experience. What we see a lot in the West is the use of music to enhance scenes, but not to trigger moments or that specific sounds get reflected visually. So here they sort of try to do that. You get the first, literally, it's called a ram, that fucking ram shit that Hans Zimmer loves to do. And then the fall of this warrior, I guess, of I don't know the actual names.
It's sort of like a fall from grace, because obviously we're following the story of Rama, Sita, and his brother Lakshman, I think, if I'm correct. So obviously, I think the first half of the film,
because it's a two-part story, apparently.
Presumably, will be up until where Sita gets abducted.
Right.
And so I think the whole idea is that you're sort of building up to something bigger than life.
But this score has to be it has to be on a darker mode than others, I think. There will be moments where it'll be bright, but I think given the premise of the story in the first half. But even though it has really elated moments, let's see.
That's very heroic.
Gorgeous.
That's very heroic.
Gorgeous.
I actually love that. By the time that you get to introduce your
brass.
hero, you have such a big brass section with a very tip of the hat. This is the savior of the story.
This is this is very Western in its application of the music score.
It's a little bit on the nose.
On the nose.
It's a little bit on the nose.
Which is fine, but it's glorious. It's really heroic. It's fine. This is fine. Ostinato. You know which movie does this quite well? It's Hans Zimmer again. It's The Holiday.
Yes, it does.
That combination of darker modes with then like the traditional modal harmonies that the fucker does all the time with like major and minor combinations.
So I actually think he does a progression similar to, I think he makes the second, the third, and the sixth or seventh minor. So like in the scale, he sort of like turns them dark, and that creates a sort of like, and it sort of creates the right sort of depth, emotionally speaking, because when the major key comes in, it actually feels brighter than it would in a normal scale.
And it still lets the audience know there's a story to be told here.
Correct.
And there's more than what there's a lot more than you think there is. And then you get the major. You get the big explosion. Our protector. Oh, ha, ha, ha. But I would love is in the movie is this is really important to me, and it might not be important to others, and that's fine. I would really love that rather than getting a top down angle, right? Because he's a savior, he's our protector, right? And then but he's on Earth now, right? I would love something more, like instead of your traditional fucking top down shot and some animated fucking power or something. I would love something different. You know, I really go back to Agaretun Satuho, that scene in is it Tamasha?
Tamasha, yes.
Tamasha, where they utilize minor chord progressions, and when they're on the fucking table, it changes when the camera also changes to a major chord. And then they induce that to induce the feeling of pain, but they did it with a major key. You're like, holy fuck, this is complicated, this is weird, it's surreal. I want him to do, because I know he's definitely good fucking enough.
Yes,
you know? And A.R. Rahman is definitely weird enough as well. Like, he's got, I just hear everything here, I hear just Hans Zimmer. I don't hear A.R. yet.
There's no AR for now, yes.
And we're 41 seconds in though, you know? But that's my hope. You start to get new ones, which I like.
Okay, so I personally think this is the part of the story. The way that they're gonna tell this story, I would like it to be a humanized version, like sort of like a nuanced representation of Rama. You actually need the layered composition to sort of like let people understand that this is more than the story that they have already heard since they were children. Like this is a brand new perspective, and I think that's the reason why you bring Hans Zimmer into this, because I think AR could have easily composed the whole score
epic
for
enough.
this. Yeah. Epic enough, especially if you wanted to do something romantic and poetic like he had done for Roja, for example, bringing that romanticism for when he is exiled in the forest. I think that would have been that would have been an easy translation for AR, right?
Yeah.
But this actually creates so many layers, and it's sort of letting the audience in to a bit of a secret. Nice drum.
So first real introduction of AR sort of doing here with the brass section.
I think this is very Hans, actually.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have dared. He would have actually been weirder. He would have done more like Dune type shit.
I actually think this is perfect because it's sort of like, I love that it's introducing high frequency trumpet as a solo, sort of like the highlight of this section, to also bring in the court, which is when he gets exiled, I'm presuming, which is sort of like building in conflict.
Okay,
nice.
This is more of what I'm talking about. That's a gorgeous fucking shot, and you're getting nuance.
Yes,
you're getting nuance musically also, which it gives me a ton of hope. But I we look at movies from a very different lens than everyone else. I think Jamie, in his review, he was mentioning about it from Tried and Refused. He was just mentioning like the amount of pressure that this is fucking going through, and you don't want to be an Andy Purush or whatever the fuck that movie was. Which I think the biggest issue with that movie was
budget.
No, I don't think it was. No, I think it had a lot of budget. Similar to this, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think the production was just essentially kind of poor, and
that's a bit of a
and I
shame.
think the execution of it was also kind of too ambitious for his own boots.
Fair enough.
You have to know your limitations, but there's a ton of pressure here, and I think sometimes pressure crumbles fuckers, and I think other times pressure creates gorgeous picture like this, and gorgeous combinations of musical composers that can create auditory what the director is expressing visually. I have an issue with this here. I have some issues, and I have obviously some. It's impossible to not feel the elation. It's what Hans Zimmer does best, and it's lovely to have A.R. Rahman actually on his vocals. He's a brilliant singer. I have heard Indian choirs for many years now. It's one of our favorite things that we discover through reels, through videos, fan mail and stuff. I feel like having a Western choir without even any nuance of Hindustani classical, it's a tiny bit like, it's like cooking a fucking paneer with like...
without the right seasoning.
It's like with pesto or something.
Yeah.
You're like, well, that's fine. But...
Yes,
You know, I
yes.
want that shit straight from Uttar Pradesh. You know what I mean? Like, I want that shit from fucking Tamil Nadu.
Yes.
So that's my only concern here, but it's gorgeous. It's also way more accessible to worldwide markets. You know, you have to keep this into account. I think if they're investing so much into this, you don't just want Ramayana to be just an Indian story. You know, I think they really are pushing for this to be an internationally told story. So I understand that part. Cool, innit? How they leave AR actually raw.
I think I would be really disappointed if the vocals were overly processed because of the magnitude and like the organic element of the story. I think there is something so incredibly delicate about telling a story that is so ancient, that has so much weight, especially when it comes to historical events and a country's mythology and religion and systematic belief. I think it's important for the vocals to actually represent the weight of that responsibility. And I do agree with the whole perspective of adding a Western style choir when you have the opportunity to actually introduce voices and sounds, especially vocally, and in the exploration of notes that Indian classical does so well in terms of nuance and emotional complexity. However, though, this is incredibly layered, musically speaking. You have so many different instrumentalizations through that orchestra that if you would have included something else that was nuanced on behind AR's vocals, it would have taken away from
Too
that
much.
highlight. So this is a really well thought through composition.
I like a lot how raw his vocals are. I fucking love that sound for him. That's sick. It really gives it a fucking grounding,
Yes,
you know?
it does.
Nice. First time we get the introduction to, you know, actually in instrumentalization with the percussion,
Well,
which I
it's
really
obviously-
like.
It's obviously, like I said at the beginning, it's incredibly segmentalized because they're trying to show people the different explorations of emotion that they will get through the first half of the film, which of the story, not the film, and the first film. I particularly think it's a little bit generic in terms of like, and here is the battle cry. I don't particularly agree with that. However, though, the production of it, like,
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
it just feels so great in your ears.
This is probably one of the best sounding things of the year.
Yeah, it's just insane.
Whether it's the best composition, obviously that's what we're trying to find out.
It feels fantastic.
Nice.
It feels fantastic.
I like that sequence a lot. I'm really looking forward to seeing the action sequences when what they do
I
musically.
think they're gonna be phenomenal.
For example, I mean, Hans Zimmer is one of my favorite composers when it comes to like action sequences
Yeah, I
and
think
creating
it's gonna be
tension.
phenomenal.
It's fucking brutal. Like wait, what he does is insane.
And he creates the right amount of emotional weight,
Yeah.
which I think a lot of action sequences and choreographies when it comes to like battles in a lot of films, they fall flat because they don't have that emotional depth.
Yeah. But it seems
and
that-
an actual consequence.
It seems they did stick with. It's called a Phrygian
Scale.
scale.
Yes, they did.
Which is it's a dark mode of music.
Yeah.
Basically, they just stands for the sequential
The sequences.
the sequential choices on the scale and where do you choose to place a minor essentially. And also modes just mean like how bright or how dark a sound feels essentially.
Basically, in layman terms, is like how happy or how sad the song actually sounds. This is gorgeous.
That's sick.
Stunning.
I love the that's-
Nice.
Now that's what he does best.
I was gonna say this is the part that actually gets me really excited for
Right.
like an IMAX film.
Yeah.
the actual physical experience
Yeah.
of feeling like you are in the scene, actually feeling the wind in your hair, if you like. And it's such a three-dimensional and a layered actual experience, because like one of our favorite experiences, like as of recent, was definitely watching Dune 1 and 2 in IMAX. That was such an incredible experience, and I think that this film, it's gonna create the same weight. However, I would have liked it to be a little bit more.
It's so safe. Like, be weird, bro.
It's a
like,
bit safe. That's a good question.
Why not change modes for the if you segmentalize the actual trailer, the teaser? Why is everything in the same mode? Why is everything with the same feeling? It's like why is everything in the same brightness? It takes some It's like literally classical music, and if it's an Indian story, do both. Introduce Carnatic things, introduce Hindustani things. There's a fuckload of folklore and lore and absolute musical nuance in India. So I'm just a bit. Maybe I'm alone in this.
No,
who knows?
I actually think.
But I'm actually not that impressed with it.
I think this is creating the right conversations, though, because this is what people are going to be talking about. But when they get into the film, this is my hope. When we get into the film, that we get to actually experience the film, we will be happily surprised with the differences and the integration of organic and folkloric sounds into this film.
I disagree.
Because you need them. I personally think you need them.
I disagree. I think the reason why they did it like this is because I think they want this to do well in Hollywood. They want this to do well in the West also.
That's no secret, though.
Yeah, but it's like, well, what cost?
I don't think we're sacrificing much, because again, I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt, because this is only 2 minutes.
This is the most interesting movie I think of the year. I mean, maybe Durandar 2 as well.
Yes, I agree.
But this is the experience, and probably will be the only film this year, maybe second, that we watch in a cinema. And I have to watch. I hope they do it at the BFI here in London.
They probably will.
Yeah, where I'm gonna be there and I'm gonna experience this. It doesn't matter if everything else disappoints me. I'm going to go to this. So I'm so intrigued, because I've been the biggest fucking promoter of
Tell your own stories.
only the Indians from all over India, right, tell their own story.
I agree.
Let them do it. They're obviously capable, and they can do them from the musical aspect. They're more than capable than I think anyone in the West. I did like the collaboration aspect of it, of Hans Zimmer and A.R. Rahman, because it's like basically the best of the best that we have in the world.
I also think that was particularly courageous.
But it's like I want Irish folk stories told by the Irish. I want German folk stories told by the Germans. I want Indians' history, stories, mythology, religion told by them. I don't want to be. What the fuck do I care? You know, I don't want to be told it from some guy in LA.
Yes,
I couldn't give two shits.
It's true.
You know,
I do like the fact that this is broadening so that is pushing so many boundaries.
Of course. It's like one of the most epic and
Yes,
like
it is.
known stories of ever. My mom is so interested in this. Like the actual aspect of this, it has like surpassed geography, because even in Venezuela, for example, in Latin America, you always saw like pictures of gods, and this is the part that's most popular about India actually. It's one of the ones that even my mother is like, I'm so interested in knowing this and learning this. I also like a lot the casting. I like a lot what they've done with Ranbir. I like a lot I like a lot his approach to the character. I was watching some written interviews that he did, and he's saying that he's learning a lot about the character, not learning how to play the character. The character's learning to play him.
Yes.
It's like really weird. This happens a lot with religious figures and historical figures in this aspect, because
they already have the character building already made,
and they have so much like body already. So it's like, how do you become? You know, it's like when fucking Mel Gibson did the fucking Passion of Christ. You know, it's like when and he broke everything. It's like when what was the other one? The guy from The Gladiator. He played a pope, not a pope. He played a priest that's like an exorcist or something. That was based on a real one. He had to read so many fucking books. He had to get involved so much. I'm sure there's other, other figures that people have done. Those are just the ones that come to my head as of now. But I like the humility that he has up to this. And Ranbir, is capable as fuck.
Yeah, I actually think you need that.
A good year for the Ranveers and Ranveers, you know?
Yeah,
Possibly.
possibly.
Andy Purush was kind of weird. You know?
I am looking forward to this. I think this is going to be quite exciting.